Hello, everyone. So sorry I'm late. I just had to restart my computer. Pasensya na.
Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating Techie Mami, si Jaye C. Bautista.
Hello, good morning. Happy Tuesday. I had to restart my computer kaya medyo na late po tayo. Joining me this morning is my hubby-dubby. Papahay po natin si. Okay. Say hello and good morning. Happy Tuesday. Say Happy Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Ayan. Very good. Thank you. Good morning. Coming from Pampanga dito sa amin. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Very good. Thank you. We're still on the subject of distance learning and online learning. Kung paano tayo nagko-cope up sa ating pag-aaral online in this pandemic, no? Already more than a year after, of course, our schools have not opened. At kagaya na sinabi ko kahapon, yung mga announcement ng DepEd na hindi pa magkakaroon ng face-to-face classes even dun sa mga low-risk areas dahil hindi pumayag ang ating presidente, right? So patuloy pa rin tayo kung mag-aaral online tsaka ng modules. Itong 2021 to 2022 school year at saka sinabi ng pinayagan ng DepEd mag-umpisa ng mas maagang yung mga eskwela, private and those DepEd registered schools, they are allowed to open early. Pero we're looking at actually a school anong school year ba? Basta bakasyon na ngayon kasi, no? Pero yun na nga, wala pa rin face-to-face. Sorry, pati yung mga graduation for this school year, still virtual. Hindi pa rin pinayagan yung socially distanced graduation, physical graduation sa campus. So, yun ang ating stand ngayon sa ating pag-aaral. But then, of course, we're talking about distance learning and how important it is, okay? Magripaso lang tayo, di ba? What's the difference between online learning tsaka distance learning? Unang-una, ang diferensya niyan, kasi, may mga nako-confuse. Akala nila distance learning at online learning, the same. Well, ang unang-una ang difference is location, okay? Online learning can include the use of online tools and platforms while still being in a regular classroom setting. Distance learning, however, is remote and does not include any face-to-face interaction between the student and teacher. Ano pang diferensya? Number 2 is yung interaction. Okay? Online learning, as seen, as we said, can include interaction with teachers tsaka mga kaklase, whereas distance learning does not have an in-person interaction at all. At ano pa? Pangatlo ay ang intention. Online learning can be used as a supplement for teachers in their courses, while distance learning replaces teachers with instruction that is preset on the learning platform. Okay? So, kung meron pang katanungan, please just feel free to fill in your questions. Okay? Anyway, ano nga ba kasi ang online learning? Alright? Ang online learning is when, okay, online learning is when teachers or students use educational tools which are accessible on the internet, right? O yun na, nag-aaral ka through the internet, right? Kaya nga meaning, and nowadays, di ba, online learning tayong lahat. Pero hindi lahat kasi may internet. Hindi lahat may gadget na pwedeng gamitin para mag-online learning. That is why, yun naman, yung ano nun, another, ano is that, yung, what do you call this? Isang way is modular learning nga, okay? Which we will discuss uh, another time, okay? So this means that ang online learning, students can use online tools while they are physically in a classroom with their teachers and peers. But kasi online learning can be used anywhere and anytime. So teachers may have students using them as tools in class or for preparation and assignments at home. Pero nowadays, ang meaning ng online learning sa atin is just that really. We are all studying online, okay? Wala kasi tayong physical interaction sa eskwela, 'di ba? Because nga sarado ang mga eskwela, physical, pero patuloy yung pag-aaral. And the way that we've been doing that is through online learning, tsaka distance learning, okay? Online learning tools are often used to create blended learning environments in the classroom. Pero which is nowadays ang classroom ng mga bata ay ang home, ang bahay. Okay? This helps students engage in the class and so they can engage in the class and in the lesson and in the material. Okay? I'd like to welcome people to the show. Maraming salamat for joining me. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much. And we're still on the subject of online and distance learning. Okay? Ang online learning kasi also helps teachers save preparation time before class. With the help of online educational tools, ang mga teacher can spend more time, di ba? Ito yung normal online learning pag blended. They can spend more time grading papers, giving one-on-one attention to the students, and maybe even getting some free time for themselves sa kanilang mga busy schedules. But of course, like I said, nowadays, ang online learning lang ang paraan ng pag-aaral ng mga bata. And also, of course, modular learning. So in this sense, yung distance learning tsaka online learning ay naging isa, right? Because we are doing distance learning. Pero most of the students, of course, that are capable are doing online learning because they use educational tools and gadgets, right? So, in that manner, walang difference yung distance learning tsaka online learning, right? Because yun na nga, ginagawa natin na ang pag-aaral hindi sa eskwelahan, outside of the school. Okay? See, ang distance learning kasi naman does not include any personal interaction with an instructor or mga kaklase. Ang mga students study at home on their own and the learning is more individualized and varies on speed and timeline according to each individual student and their availability. And di ba nowadays ganun din yun, right? Ang online learning is distance learning kasi nga di nakakapunta sa eskwela. Pero distance learning actually relies on the educational tools of online learning. See, talagang may interdependence sila. Talagang meron silang uh, um, di, what do you call this? There's a lot of things that are the same sa kanila. Pero, and that is probably why there is some confusion between the two. Kaya ka nakakagulo kasi nga, it is possible to study with online distance learning as well. In that sense, okay, distance learning is a subject of online learning, all right, of online learning. Because distance education is remote, di ba? It can connect students to universities worldwide, di ba? Or kahit saan, eskwela natin, nationwide, worldwide. It makes it more accessible for students in different countries as well. It is also known to be more affordable, which is another factor that helps make education more accessible to many students around the world saka sa iba-ibang different socio-economic levels. Yun na nga yun eh. Supposedly, ang online learning, cheaper, right, than normal learning. Pero dito sa atin, of course, hindi naman nagbago. Yung tuition, nung nag-transition tayo from face-to-face learning to online, hindi naman nag-offer ng discount yung mga university. Sorry pero call out ko na naman talaga. Yun na nga, kagaya ng eskwela ng anak ko, wala namang binigay na discount. Pareho pa rin ang tuition, if not, nagmahal pa to some certain respect because may mga extra charges doon na hindi mo naman nagagawa dahil hindi ka naman physically pupunta sa eskwela. But anyway, okay? Ano ang benefits ng distance learning? Okay? As mentioned above, or na-mention ko kanina, ang mga students can study from anywhere they want, okay? They can choose a school kung kahit saan nila gusto dito sa Pilipinas or abroad. Even if they're not able to travel, okay? Dahil sa kanilang kurso na pipiliin. This allows top universities to be available to students who would not otherwise be able to attend due to distance, finances, or other circumstances, okay? Distance learning is extremely important para doon sa mga hindi maka-attend ng mga programs or because of health complications, di ba? Severe social anxiety, busy work schedules, or parenting demands, or any other situation that makes it necessary to be confined to the home. Okay? So, kagaya ng na-mention ko kahapon, itong distance learning ay matagal nang ginagawa to sa Amerika. Kasi dito nag-umpisa yung mga certificate courses, right? Na pwede ka talagang magkaroon ng degree or certification by studying online, by never leaving your home. Doon ka lang mag-aaral sa bahay. Kasi nga, yan ang distance learning, right? Online programs such as sa America, yung University of the People, that caters to students who prefer to need distance education. Ang University of the People, okay, tignan mo, mabuti pa talaga sila sa Amerika, di ba? Ang ganda. Is a tuition-free, imagine na, non-profit institution, making it an affordable and sustainable option for students worldwide. So meaning, okay, tayong mga Pilipino, pwede rin tayo mag-apply dyan. Try na rin, right? In addition to being affordable, ang University of the People employs academic leadership from renowned universities around the world, meaning yung mga professor dyan ay galing sa mga top-notch schools, okay? Allowing equal opportunity for students to access quality education. Baka may mga teacher dyan from UP also, ha? Or Ateneo or LaSalle, whatever. And of course, yung Ivy League schools sa Amerika like Harvard, mga Stanford. University of the People kasi provides distance education for students who may have physical or health restrictions, those who live in remote areas, who those cannot otherwise attend school because may pamilya, okay? This provides an equal opportunity for people to access higher education despite restrictions on location. Di ba ang ganda? Right? So, ano-ano ang mga type ng distance learning? Okay? Number one is yung ang number one ay nako. Hindi pala ako nagbo-broadcast. Ano nangyari? Oh my gosh. What happened? Ay, hindi. Ayan. Okay, my goodness. Sorry. Confused ako. So, ano yung what was I saying? Ano-ano ang types ng distance learning? Okay, online courses. Online courses are usually offered as additional classes in traditional degrees. Narinig ko nagka-crunch. Naamoy ko na rin yung lunch namin. Sorry. We're going to have tacos for lunch anyway. So going back to what I was saying. Yun, ang online courses are usually offered as additional classes sa traditional degrees, okay? As long as students have a computer, tsaka internet access, they can learn and receive instruction at home. Kasi nga, nung unang panahon talaga, ini-email yung mga material, yung mga certificate courses, right? Tapos, ano pang sunod? Hybrid courses, okay? Hybrid courses combine traditional classroom settings with online learning at home. This can mean that students learn individually at home and meet up for in-person instructions or lectures at certain intervals during the course. The amount of at-home learning and in-class learning varies for each hybrid course, okay? Ano-ano pang klaseng ano pang isang klase ng distance learning ay ang mga conference classes. Okay? Diba? Conferencing allows students and teachers to meet up for class in real time, whether in a group or one-on-one with an instructor, using the phone or video chatting such as Skype, diba? Yung Zoom nowadays, bago yan. Tsaka ang mga students tsaka teachers can engage in live lessons despite distance. Yun na yan. Yan ang conference classes, yung mga Zoom classes nowadays, tsaka Skype nung araw. Okay? Well, ginagamit pa rin ang Skype naman ngayon. Ito pa, itong matagal nang ginagawa sa Amerika, yung mga correspondence courses. Okay? Correspondence courses consists of mga estudyante engaging in class material via mail or email. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Tinatanggap nila yung lessons nila through email. Students receive material and assignments through mail, and they send back the completed assignments through the email system as well. That's been working for America for a long time, right? But nowadays, di ba, marami tayong paraan para magpadala ng ating mga files or materials either by WeTransfer, Dropbox, madami. Okay? Okay? What works best okay? Ang importante is what works best for you. Now that you now that I have given you a rundown sa distance learning definition and the different kinds that are available, nasa sa inyo na mag-decide kung anong tama para sa inyo. Okay? So, balikan naman natin yung kamustahin yung ating pag-aaral dito, right? Ng distance learning. Sabi ko kahapon, right? I talked about kasi halfway through our school year under distance learning, meron pa rin tayong mga issues, diba? Ano yun? Access, quality, tsaka safety. Yan pa rin ang mga problema. Problems in access to distant learning modalities. Okay? Kagaya nitong nasa, kasi itong mga modules, yung mga, meron din tayong problema sa supply niyan. Okay? Siguro, medyo kailangan bilisan yung paggawa niyan. But of course, it takes time, and yun na nga, yung preparation for those materials. Yan ang isa sa mga nagiging problema ngayon. Okay? The availability and access to the modules. Lacking education materials, and ayun pa rin, poor state of school facilities, unfit for the conduct of, hindi naman kasi, of course, hindi natin kailangan ngayon yung school facilities because wala tayong face-to-face, pero still, existing pa rin yung problema na yan, hindi pa naayos. Okay? So, yan ang mga issues that were revealed by the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, yung ACT, di ba? Sabi ko nga, itong group na to nag-conduct ng nationwide online survey among public school teachers from March 29 to April 11. Doon sa survey na yon, na sinabi ko kahapon, it gathered responses from 6,731 public school teachers from kindergarten to senior high school, with 5,303 respondents coming from the National Capital Region. Saka ang 1,428 from all the other 16 regions. Okay? Ang mga issue na natakal ay issues on access. Kasi the quality of the access still remains as a problem. Okay? Citing the result of the online survey, ACT noted that 95% of teachers from NCR and 81% from other regions reported that their students continue to face problems because nga of the cost of gadgets and yun nga, internet connectivity pa rin ang problema, right? Nagkakaproblema pa rin kasi like yung madami sa atin ginagamit ay ang kanilang cellphone, right? And at saka yung data sa cellphone nila, sometimes talaga mahina ang signals and all. So, nagkakaproblema pa rin ng ating mga mag-aaral dyan sa aspect na yan. And that boils down, of course, to connectivity in the Philippines pa rin. Hindi pa rin talaga, of course, I have noticed na talaga namang bumilis ang internet. Okay? Pero yun na nga, yung sa data ng mga bata, nagre-rely lang sila dun sa kanilang data. And the speed that Globe or Smart gives. Okay? Pero yun na nga, sometimes ang hirap mag-aral sa ganun kasi nagba-bog down, 'di ba? Naglalag, nag-hang, at kawawa yung mga bata kasi pag nagle-lecture yung teacher, hindi nila masyadong na iintindihan kasi napuputol-putol, right? So, uh, so that's why, yun na nga, yan ang mga problema na nag-i-exist pa rin ngayon. Okay? So, um, sabi ng ACT, 48% and 53% na ng mga nag-respond dito sa survey na to respectively also indicated that at least 30% of the mga estudyante nila have difficulties financing the demands of distance learning. Ayan na nga ang ano natin problema. Yung mga ibang pamilya, okay, ginagamit lang nila kunyari yung cellphone ng tatay nila o nanay nila para mag-aral. Yun na, tsaka sa kakulangan ng mga gamit para sa online learning. Of course, ang kaano nun is yung financing. Hindi sila maka-afford bumili ng laptop or yung mga ibang pamilya naman, iisa lang ang computer tapos 3 or 5 anak na nag-aaral. Yan pa rin ang problema na nag-exist ngayon. Kasi some belong in homes that have 2 to 3 families with only 1 or 2 gadgets shared by multiple learners, okay? So many, kasi nga 'di ba, marami sa atin na nawalan ng trabaho sa pandemya na ito. So tama-tama naman, online education na bigla. Yung tatay na dating sumasweldo ng at least 30,000 a month na biglang zero, yun na nga, hindi naman niya mabili kaagad ng computer yung mga anak niya, right? So, yan ang isang problema. The government is essentially forcing these families to choose between putting food on the table and ensuring their children's education, right? As they reel from the virus effects of a bungled pandemic, di ba? Kaya nga yung mga, syempre, yung mga magulang, maghahanap na muna ng pangkabuhayan kesa bumili ng ng gadget para sa anak. Pero yun na nga, yung iba, of course, credit card kung may credit card. Okay? Doon sa survey na yon, teacher respondents also reported that their students are lagging behind sa lessons. Yan ang sa dyan eh. Based on the survey kasi, 95% of those from NCR and 86% from other regions admitted that portions of their classes lag behind, while 24% and 29% respectively said that 30% or more have difficulties keeping up. Diba? So bakit? Ano mga rason? Yun na nga. Isa dun ay kagaya itong nasa picture. Lack of printed modules. Okay? Ito. This one. Ito, yan. Lack of printed modules. Okay? Lack of printed modules. Okay? The survey kasi showed the most employed learning modality remains to be the printed module learning as indicated by 50% of teacher respondents. Okay? However, kunyari, ang ACT found out that the available modules for the first and second grading were incomplete, diba? As pointed out by 32% of NCR teachers and 23% of teachers from other regions. Sabi nila, they were significantly short, kulang ang mga materials. So, sabi nitong si Basilio, yun daw ang, sabi niya na, major factors to this are the delayed production of learning materials from the DepEd Central Office and the insufficient funds for module printing. This is a great disservice to the millions of the learners who are shortchanged and to teachers as well who have been exhausting their means to fill in the shortages. Diba? Yan ang sinabi ni Raymond Basilio, Secretary ng ACT. Okay? Talaga naman kaawa-awa naman yung nangyari dahil hindi lahat ng materials. Tsaka yun nga, sometimes late, binibigay yung modules. Okay? Ano pa? Unfit for in-classroom learning. While there is a growing clamor for the resumption of face-to-face classes, maraming eskwela pa rin ang hindi fit for schooling. Maraming problema pa rin. Unsafe pa rin sila to perennially address the shortage ng mga classrooms. Okay? Sabi ng ACT, the group added that about 50% of the respondents nationwide indicated that their classrooms have poor ventilation, 42% from NCR and 52% from the other regions also noted that their schools do not have enough comfort rooms. So, paano ka babalik dyan sa face-to-face na learning? Kasi nga, hindi naman safe yung environment. So, talagang okay pa lang at tama pa lang na nag-aaral pa rin tayo online or doing modular. Kasi nga, marami pa rin classrooms or eskwela na hindi pa tama or hindi pa conducive sa pag-aaral. Alright? These perennial shortages in education pose bigger problems now than before, actually, sabi ni Basilio. So, that's how people are coping nowadays with distance learning. We still have the problems of some of the problems existing from before. Okay, so effective ba ang online education? Yes, of course it is. Okay, and like I said, ngayon mas marami mas ready na ang mga eskwela because nagkaroon na ng preparation. Yun na nga yung pag-transition sa online schooling, okay? Yung mga materials better na, the way that they are learning better na, pero yun pa rin, kulang pa rin yung mga iba dahil sa mga modules na hindi lahat na print, no? So, but we are coping with it right now, I think, in the best way that we can. Our government and our DepEd are closely working hand in hand at patuloy na nagko-conduct ng mga research ng mga patuloy na naghahanap ng mga tools to make everything easier for the learner. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about naman blended learning. All right. Okay. What is blended learning? Okay, so we discussed online learning tsaka distance learning. What is the definition of blended learning? Okay. Think for a moment about some related practices and phrasing. Okay, blended education, e-learning, remote learning. Okay, flipping the classroom. All of these practices involve learning, okay? The concept of place or distance and the use of technology. Yun lang talaga yun. Online learning and distance learning is a matter of location, okay, distance, okay, and purpose. Whatever one kasi chooses to call it, ang blended learning combines classroom and online education, alright? Yan sana yung gusto nating mangyari itong susunod na school year na magkaroon ng blended learning. Some at home, some in the classroom. Pero yun na nga, as I said yesterday, in-announce ng gobyerno na hindi papayagan pa mag-blended learning o hindi papayagan pa ang mag-face-to-face schooling kahit na dun sa low-risk areas. Kasi nga, meron tayo ngayong Delta variant ng virus na starting to spread all over the world. And mabuti na lang swerte tayo na like here in Pampanga, MGCQ kami. And today, of course, we found out that GCQ na ang Metro Manila, ang NCR, tsaka Laguna, Cavite, ay GCQ na, right? Very good, very good. Kasi bumubuti na yung situation as far as I know, of course, dahil mas marami nang nababakunahan. Which reminds me na please, okay, pabakuna na kayong lahat because that is what we want to accomplish, have a herd immunity, all right, all over the world. The more being vaccinated, of course, the better for us all. So, ayun na nga sabi, wag nang mamili ng gamot, ay gamitin ako anong available. Ang importante is mabakunahan, right? Okay? So, going back to blended learning, okay? Uh, Blended learning, the definition of Oxford Dictionary sa blended learning is a style of education in which students learn via electronic and online media as well as traditional face-to-face teaching. Okay, defining hybrid or blended education is harder to do because opinions vary wildly on this subject matter. Okay, in a report on the merits and potential of blended education, the Sloan Consortium defined hybrid courses as those that integrate online with traditional face-to-face class activities in a planned, valuable manner. Okay, educators probably disagree on what qualifies as pedagogically valuable, but the essence is clear. Ang hybrid education uses online technology not just as a supplement, but transforms it and improve, but something that will transform and improve the learning process. Okay, that does not mean a professor can simply start a chat room or upload videos and say he is leading a hybrid classroom. Hindi ganon, okay? According to Education Elements, which develops hybrid learning technologies, successful blending learning occurs when technology, okay, and teaching inform each other, okay? Materials become dynamic when it reaches students of varying learning styles, okay? Ito yung nahirapan muna nating gawin, itong transition ng face-to-face education to online, right? Yung mga teachers natin hindi ready. Yung mga eskwelahan not ready. Nagmadali tayong lahat. Pero kasi we had to do it because nga sinara yung mga eskwela. At pero gusto nating patuloy-tuloy pa yung education ng ating mga anak. In other words, ang hybrid classrooms on the internet can reach and engage students in a truly customizable way. Sa scenario na ito, ang online education is a game changer talaga. Not just as a supplement for the status quo, but what does this actually look like in practice? All right. The definition of blended learning is an approach to learning that combines face-to-face and online learning experiences. Ideally kasi, each, both online and off, will complement the other by using its particular strengths, di ba? While generally seen as a trend in progressive learning, blending learning, blended learning can also be viewed as a kind of parang relic symbolic of the gap between traditional education, okay, which is for the last century or so in a brick and mortar school, yan ang ating gamit, okay? And yung virtual, real classrooms, right? And connected and ang digital learning. This, of course, implies that digital only is the future and the ultimate incarnation of learning. Talaga naman, the future of learning is distance learning or virtual learning, which is a short-sighted view. The point is nga, blended learning should be a mixture of the old and new as much as it is a mix of physical and digital learning. Okay? Ang mga types ng blended learning, the flipped classroom, hybrid learning, okay, all right. Isa types of blended learning, okay. Yan yun, okay. Examples of blended learning, all right. Ang mga estudyante doing face-to-face group work in a classroom, then going home to analyze that work and continue in a video as an assessment form, taking a course online. Then, receiving face-to-face tutoring between online sessions, di ba? Doon naman sa course ng higher education, ang blended or hybrid learning is a snazzy yet relatively new tool and not all professors use it at the same time, right? Trends have emerged, however. For instance, most professors in blended classrooms use some versions of a course management system application to connect with students online. Okay? Sa Amerika, yung gamit Blackboard tsaka Moodle. These two are perhaps two of the best known MLS applications, okay? Learning, okay. Ano ba? Okay. Okay, sometimes we talk about, na-mention ng LMS, okay? excuse me, all right? What is LMS? It's a learning management system, okay? Learning management system. So I going back to what I was saying, okay? Uh, Blackboard and Mojo are the best LMS applications used today. But slowly, ang dumadami na talaga yung mga platforms na being offered. Some are free trial pa, right? Because through these platforms like these, students can access videos of lectures, track assignments and progress, tsaka interact with professors, tsaka mga peers or mga uh, co-students and review other supporting materials like PowerPoint, like ang mga ano ba yan, PowerPoint presentations, pwede nyo ring i-review dyan or i-share, right? Okay? Like I said, an LMS or learning management system is, to deliver e-learning courses, companies need a mga learning management system, okay? It is a software that companies use to develop, deliver, and track training for their students, employees, clients, and partners, okay? All right. Kasi an LMS kasi, or learning management system, is an online education hub that provides a large and indispensable set of features to support educational activities such as classroom learning, distance education, okay, and online learning. All right, very good. So, even if, for example, even if ang mga professors use the same platform, however, they could each integrate them into their classrooms differently, okay? Okay? According to a report on the subject by the Insight Institute, professors could supplement traditional coursework with online media in the classroom, or simply alternate between online and classroom instruction. Perhaps one of the most recent, at least mostly widely covered hybrid teaching models is what Insight calls the online driver method, or as it has come to be known as flipping the classroom, okay? Paano nagagawa ng hybrid classrooms i-redefine ang education? All right? Years ago kasi, okay, NPR, the National Press, and other media outlets sa America caught wind of a relatively new education model called flipping, all right? Which is really an adaptation of definition of blended learning. In a traditional classroom, okay, instructors use class time to lecture and disseminate support materials. Students then review these materials and complete any assignments at home on their own time. With some luck, okay, teachers will review those assignments in class the following day, or at least host office hours so that they can field questions and other support. They'll designate a time para mag-usap online, okay? Flipping, okay? FLIPPING, okay, defies these conventions. In this method of teaching, teachers tsaka mga professors use online media to deliver notes, lectures, and related course materials. Students review these materials at home and at their own pace, okay? Classroom periods are then transformed into hands-on work periods where the teacher, who will have already delivered his or her lecture digitally, is free to field questions, engage classroom-wide discussions, or offer other means of support. Ang blended learning seems to reinforce student-centered learning, allowing students to master content in an individual way. Pero effective ba ang blended learning? Can blended learning, whatever the application, truly transform education? Okay? Nagwo-work ba ang blended learning? Kasi not all students learn the same way. Okay? Iba-ibang estudyante. This is not a particularly novel concept, but it is an important one. Okay? Okay? Diba? Naalala nyo no, even early childhood education programming like Sesame Street, all right, recognizes this, and therefore design programming in a way that reaches auditory, visual, kinetic learners alike. Students never outgrow their learning styles, di ba? So why do traditional college classrooms fail to engage all of them? Ito ang strength ng blended learning. It transforms a largely transmissive method of teaching. Say, kunyari, a professor lecturing for what feels like an eternity. Haba-habang lecture, boring, anto ka na. Okay? Nagagawa nilang maging interactive ang lecture, right, nowadays because of this. The definition of blended learning sounds ideal on paper, pero does it work nga? Okay? Noong 2010, there was a meta-analysis published by the U.S. Department of Education suggesting that blended learning does work. According to the reports, students exposed to both face-to-face and online education were more successful than students entirely studying in online campus or online or at home. Okay? Walang educational model, one size fits all. And some hybrid classrooms are probably more effective than others. Diba? Sabi ng scientific literature review published by the Australasian Society for Computers in Learning in Tertiary Education. Okay, yan ang Australasian Society for Computers in Learning in Tertiary Education. A number of factors impact the success of hybrid learning. So ano naman, ang mga teacher must be committed, okay? They must be well-trained in both blended and hybrid education. Yan na nga ang nangyari, hindi tayo trained, hindi tayo ready, pero okay na because ngayon, it seems like ready na tayo because kailangan, okay? Teachers must be trained in blended and hybrid education at saka yung technology na ginagamit. And students must have a clear understanding of what is expected of them, right? Okay, so so yan ang yan ang importansya ng blended learning, okay? So sa panahon na ito, if I have to assess and say that how are we fending doing distance learning or online learning, I think we're doing pretty good. We are coping, okay? We are trying, okay? Because nga, importante sa ating Pangulo ang safety ng bawat mamamayang Pilipino, most especially the students. Kaya, hindi pa tayo pinapapasok sa eskwela. Pero yun na nga, nag-transition tayo sa online, nag-transition sa modular learning, and it's not yet down pat, hindi pa perfecto yung sistema, pero kinakaya natin, right? Kinakaya natin. But tomorrow we will discuss more about yung mga tools that people are working with sa what do you call, in order to continue this online learning, kung ano mga ginagamit, anong mga tulong ang kailangan, at anong mga LMS or platforms ang pwedeng gamitin para magpatuloy ang online education. Okay? All right. So, do you have any questions, please? If there are any questions that you want to field and ask about, okay, please feel free to field your questions here sa Messenger ko or sa Facebook ko or here in Broad Streamcast Communicators, okay? For those, of course, who miss our broadcasts dito sa real time, of course, immediately we are moved to our YouTube channel. Meron na pong YouTube channel ang ating Broad Streamcast Communicators Inc. At dun po mababalikan niyo po yung ating mga past episodes na na-miss nyo at gusto nyo pang balikan, okay? Okay. Okay. So anyway, so please feel free to ask questions and we will answer it the best as we can. Okay. Tapos po, pwede niyo po akong email also sa jbautista@gmail.com para sa inyong mga katanungan, tsaka suggestion pa po at ng mga issues na kailangan yung pag-usapan or malaman about, right? Ah, para matakal po natin sa programa. Alright? Pero of course, in all honesty, the Philippines still lags behind in acting on remote learning problems, okay? Uh, we're trying our best, right? Pero medyo mabagal lang ang proseso ng pag-aaral natin. I mean, ng yung mga kailangan ayusin na problema. Pero maayos din yan, okay? Maayos din yan. So anyway, ano-ano pa ang mga, okay, like we said, yung DepEd kasi offered various learning modalities and repeatedly assured everyone that no student will be left behind. But learners still found themselves without access to quality learning materials. Yun, kanina yung sinabi natin eh. Modular learning was the most accessible of all the modalities, which parents themselves preferred for their children. Kasi nga, hindi lahat ng tao may internet, hindi lahat ng pamilya can afford to buy gadgets. This involves students being taught through printed yung self-learning modules, yun na lang eh. Yun ang pinaka mas maraming na ginagawa na pag-aaral, okay? Education Secretary Leonor Briones called the modules for the backbone of distance learning. Totoo naman. But in just the first few days of school year 2020-21, parents immediately noted that the modules contained errors that left them worried about the quality of education their children were getting. Yun na nga, yung mga printed modules kulang na, marami pang mali, okay? Teachers conducting online classes, meanwhile, found out that nearly half of their students never got a chance to show up for class due to issues naman with internet connection. Yan. So halfway through the school year, ito yung mga problema, okay? Some of the students even dropped out of school, all right? That's the sad part. So in this manner, we can see a learning crisis here. A learning crisis emerged, made worse by, of course, the pandemic, and education advocates pointed this out, okay? Lisa Marie Compaamor Oligario, an education psychologist, stresses that the Philippines was never in the first place actually prepared for emergency remote learning. Ayun na nga eh, alam na nga natin hindi tayo prepared pero kinailangan natin gawin dahil yung sinarado yung mga eskwelahan. Sabi ni Oligario, Filipinos are stuck in the traditional type of learning. That is among the errors I found in the education system. Even when we shifted to remote learning, it's too traditional. Okay? Explains Oligario, a faculty member of the University of the Philippines College of Education. Students are always asked to answer quizzes while the teacher evaluates their scores. But emergency remote learning requires more authentic activities that students can relate in. Sabi ni Oligario, she led a recent survey to assess the implementation of distance learning in the country. She found out that learning materials in the Philippines were more teacher-centered and book-centered, as parents often believed that their children could only learn when they were bombarded with more activities. Okay? In the early months of the school year, parents admitted that they sometimes accomplished the tasks assigned to their children because of the high-level difficulty and the number of activities they had to finish in a day. Tinutulungan na yung magulang na yung gumagawa ng assignment, di ba? Hindi natin maiwasan yun talaga, lalo na sa parang homeschool or studying from home. Ang problema dyan, they lamented that the tasks were difficult even for adults with higher educational attainment. Yun na nga, ang problema na nga dyan, kung hindi nakapag-aral yung magulang, paano mo tuturuan, right? Yun pala, even mga adults with a higher educational attainment are having problems. Really naman totoo. This, Oligario says, can be easily solved if the current K-12 curriculum was shifted to a more learner-centered design in which lessons and activities were weaved into the daily lives of the students, okay? The curriculum is too focused on the topics rather than the learners. It is too shallow and that does not give students a meaningful learning experience, sabi daw. Traditional learning pa rin, okay? Si Diosdado San Antonio, Education Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, acknowledged that traditional learning was one of the flaws of the Philippine education system. Traditional mindsets take time to change. It's also part of the perceptions and perhaps even the culture of our country where some parents may question sudden changes, sabi ni San Antonio. Okay? San Antonio, who is at the forefront of the DepEd's Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, argues that the agency had already reduced the more than 15,000 learning competencies to less than 10 per quarter on every grade level. Sabi nila, if the old curriculum was used at present, then it would be impossible for students to actually learn what is needed at their age. Yun na nga, naging behind. We really agree that there's a need to make sure that pedagogy is learner-centered, and we try very hard to do this even in the distance learning delivery modalities. So we are lagging behind. Okay? Last December, ang DepEd proposed the pilot implementation of limited in-person classes in areas classified. Pero yun na nga, hindi yan pinayagan. Alright? So, ironically now, however, the country is also behind in creating its emergency remote learning kit that would have helped bridge the gaps of the distance education program. Ayun na nga kasi, nagahol sa panahon ni Rush itong pag-online transition to face-to-face to online and modular. Oligario explains that an Oligario explains na ang emergency remote learning kit consists of concrete changes in policies, and program implementation that could save a nation's lost generation or the children left behind in learning who may not see enough employment opportunities in the future. Okay, this was the most common hurdles that the education sector had to face in this pandemic. Anyway, patuloy natin pang pag-uusapan to, our status right now in our long-distance learning and online education. Okay? Marami pa kasi dapat pag-usapan, marami pang dapat malaman, alright, about it. But we will continue to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? I have been actually quoting yan sila Oligario based on an Inquirer article. Okay, today. Okay, that is very fresh today. Okay, this is an article that came out. Okay, online, and the title of this article is "Philippines Lags Behind in Acting on Remote Learning Problems and Pandemic." We will deal with that. We will talk about that more tomorrow. Okay, sa mga tumutok today, maraming salamat sa for you to join me today in the show. Thank you very much for joining me. All right. And we're still on the subject of online education in the Philippines. All right. How we're fending in this pandemic. Thank you so much to Inquirer.net for the feature. And also, thank you very much for those who joined me today. Magkita-kita puli ulit tayo bukas. Of course, same time, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And of course, please feel free to fill in your questions either through my messenger or through my Facebook page, JC Bautista, or through Broad Streamcast Communicators. Tayo po ay nasa YouTube na. So please, kung makapunta kayo sa aming YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. All right? Very good. It has been a beautiful Tuesday warm morning. To start the day po, I woke up with new faith, hope, and of course, always love for everyone. So thank you very much to the Lakap family for always supporting me. And of course, my Bautista family that I miss so much. My Bautista family from Australia, America, and Manila. All right. And always remember that there's always a hope for a brighter day. As long as we're living there, we can always keep the faith, hope, and love burning in our hearts because talaga naman, there is an end to this madness, okay? Ito yung mga pagsubok lamang. Of course, the Filipinos are known to be resilient and we bounce back from a lot of things already. Mga kalamidad, everything, we went through. And the good thing to know is that we are all in this together. Itong pandemya na po ay bring about ng sort of unity among all nations, okay? Because we have a common purpose is to recover and to fight back and move on in this pandemic kasi kaya natin yan, okay? So today we discussed the difference between online learning and distance learning, okay? That in the end, okay, there's pretty much not big of a difference because distance learning now, of course, means online learning from home, right? Which is what our educational system is now doing. Wala tayong face-to-face school. Ang school natin ay ating mga tahanan, okay? Of course, or any place that the kids can find access to internet or sa cellphone nila. So thank you so much again for joining me today. This has been Jaye Bautista on Buhay Online, talking about online and distance learning and how we are fending. More on the status of that tomorrow, and more discussions regarding online and distance learning. Thank you very much for joining me. Maraming salamat po. Ano bang birthdays? Wala akong maalala my birthday today. But happy birthday to those people with birthdays, all right? And take care, please. Keep the faith, hope, and love burning. Thank you.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.